to Talking Reds. It's Friday the 27th of September. We are in the quite magnificent gin distillery on Castle Street, and I am joined by the returned Neil Atkinson for today's Talking Reds. Welcome. Been a bit of a busy week, and you always go away on the busiest weeks when everything falls down or everything goes over the top.
It's a phenomenal ability, to be honest with you. I always think I time these things relatively nicely, and then reality plays out, and I'm left looking like a dope. And it's not been helped this time that I got Thomas cooked, although we got back within sort of 36 hours of when expected. But yeah, I was meant to go to MK Dons. I'm not. I was meant to go to Sheffield United, I'm now not. Hosting post-match pint tomorrow, but that's not the reason. The other reason is that it would be fair to describe me as absolutely jet-lagged to bits, to be quite honest with you.
How was Tommy Cook?
Well, it all got sorted out, and so, you know, I was lucky, to be honest with you. We were lucky, we got sorted out quite quickly, but on the whole, the thing's a massive shame for a lot of people who've lost their jobs. Forget the mild inconvenience for me and a bit of jet lag. There's people who've lost their jobs, and that's pretty awful, with not enough notice. So yeah, hopefully it gets sorted for those people as quick as possible.
Whilst you were in the air,
yeah.
I'm presuming you were in the air.
Yes.
Some news broke that Liverpool had their application to trademark various variations of the word Liverpool FC. The IPO threw the case out, pretty much. I think throwing the case out is
it's nice and dramatic.
Yeah.
I think it's the whole thing to me feels like Liverpool took a flight on one and have lost out in a PR sense and lost out on the case. I suspect the PR sense will be a bit more annoying to them than the case. I wondered if they had a little look at it and wondered if they could do it. I think this is part of the problem of being Liverpool, and this is the thing I've said all the way through on this, is they get to be Liverpool, and that comes with an enormous amount of strength. There's huge positives, but there's some stuff you've just got to wear. And I think every now and again, they try not to wear some bits and pieces. Tottenham have got this trademark. Everton have got this trademark. This trademark exists for areas, but Liverpool is different, both in terms of the club itself, but also the city that it represents. And I think that this is one where, and Mother reminds me, this is something that you often say to me, that we talk about the club as though it's all one thing, or talk about FSG as though it's all one thing. The reality of the situation is the club's got offices in Liverpool and in London. It's got obviously a massive contingent in Boston as well. And the idea that everyone at Liverpool all wants or agrees on the same thing.
And you've got Melwood as well.
And you've got Melwood as well. So the idea that everyone at Liverpool all wants or agrees on the same thing is nonsense. It's like in any business, different people will think different things all the time. And I suspect that will have been the case with this trademark thing, where it does seem as though from the outside looking in, it surprised a fair few people who work in Liverpool, at Liverpool, about it all.
Do you think the most frustrating thing, we work in a relatively small company, and behind the scenes you don't see the chaos that goes on.
Yeah.
With us, and I can appreciate that, like, there are people in power and there can be breakdowns in communication. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's very easy for this to go. I mean, we saw the thing with the TalkSport Champions League radio rights a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I just think it's disappointing in so much as that we know how much the club are trying to do the right thing broadly and try and improve not their image, but I mean, because they've been doing really good work for years, and this just kind of, I can imagine that certain people at the club are really not upset but frustrated by this events, because it feels like all the hard work that they put in is now just forgotten. No, not forgotten about, but all the goodwill you build up.
I don't think it is. I think one of the, and this is again why I feel at times as though they probably feel internally, God, is the price always worth it, you know? And I can well imagine that a bit like, being Liverpool is harder, but then the benefits are you win Champions Leagues. The benefits are 4-0 against Barcelona. The benefits, don't get me wrong, so much of that comes down to the brilliant work that's done on the pitch, behind the scenes, recruitment, etc. But there is a Liverpool DNA thing, and if you want to be part of if you want to own, act as custodians for what is one of the biggest sports brands on the planet, well, that means that sports brand has values that are separate to any that you want to sort of impose upon it. That's the price, and that's one of the prices, but then the flip side of that is that, you know, the people who own Liverpool currently have got an asset that's worth most definitely over £1 billion to them, and possibly even touching the £2 billion mark, which they paid a comparatively small amount, a huge amount as far as we're concerned. So part of all of that is that if you want in on this, then you get in on the whole thing. And I think every now and again that just gets a little bit forgotten. And I don't think it necessarily gets forgotten in the Liverpool office of Liverpool, but I think it might get forgotten in London offices and elsewhere.
We know you can do 20 things right and one thing wrong, and the only thing anyone ever talks about is the one thing you've got wrong. Yeah. I mean, just from my point of view, SOS have released a statement saying that common sense prevailed. Yeah. But there's also, I get it, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's almost a sense of palpable relief from the club that it's finally been put to bed.
Well, possibly in that it would have been, like, just imagine the work around the first 6, 12, 18 months on this, when everyone will be looking to hold you to account all the time for any decision that you make in any way, shape or form. Is it actually worth it? The flip side is this idea of the en masse sort of sportswear that they can't control, that can come in from anywhere around the globe. And I understand the idea the UK is the first step, I don't argue with that, but I just sort of think you've got to accept it. And I think you've also got to maybe say, we've just got to make our gear be as spot on as possible, and simultaneously though acknowledge that you're not going to be able to compete with hat, scarf and a badge, love, follow, conquer, hopefully some of our own gear, Transalpino, that these people are really, really good at what they do, but they're going to a certain market in exactly the same way that, listen, I'd love the Anfield Wrap to have as many subscribers as Sky Sports, but we don't. And we're not going to, and the reason why is Sky are appealing to a certain market and the Anfield Wrap is looking to appeal to a slightly different market, and I'm all right with that. I'm genuinely all right with that. And basically Sky get to an inverted commas win, but hopefully there's enough room for everyone to be happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you can take anything from this, in addition, hopefully, you know, and we know that the club did reach out to local merchants.
Yep.
I know SOS put meetings together. Hopefully that those doors can be remained open in the future.
I think so.
And they can maybe have a healthy relationship. Anyway, the serious stuff out the way. Liverpool travel to Bramall Lane tomorrow morning. We've done a preview show on our tour player service. Here's a little bit of that.
Let's run through these facts and figures. So I was made up with these. I enjoyed myself this morning doing this. So Sheffield United haven't hosted Liverpool in a match in any competition since the opening day of 2006-2007, 13 years ago. The red side that went to Bramall Lane then. Rayner in goal, Kromkamp, Hippier, Carragher, Risa, Gerrard, Sissoko, Zenden, Aurelio, Fowler. The subs not used, Dudek and Crouch, the subs that came on. Aga, Gonzalez, fucking hell. Pennant came on in the 83rd minute. That was a 1-1 draw.
Jesus.
And yeah, Rob Hulse opened the scoring for them. Robbie Fowler equalised from the spot after Chris Morgan had fouled Steven Gerrard. A stat you might hear over the weekend as well, and I'm enjoying laughing at it before it even comes out my mouth. Liverpool have never won a Premier League match at Bramall Lane.
Really?
He played 3 times.
I was going to say.
3 times, 2 draws. 2 draws, 1 defeat. Those games were in 92, 93 and 2006. But the good stats, Liverpool have won the last 12 Premier League games against newly promoted sides. They've scored 35, they've only scored 4. We're unbeaten in 23, you probably know this one. We've won the last 15 in a row. And Mo, to kick off, how good is this red side? Because the only side in LFC history who's been on a longer unbeaten run in the league than this one was the 87-88 side. They did 31 matches.
They were a bit good as well.
They were all right, yeah. They were the ones compared to Brazil.
They also won the league, didn't they?
29 from the start of the season, wasn't it, I think, and that year.
31 apparently.
That might have gone 2 into the
It might have been,
year.
yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Mo. How good did he? How good did he?
We are very good right now, and I think that seeing our shadow team put away a spirited but limited MK Dons last night, I feel like reinforced that. And Sheffield United are going to be going into it feeling good about themselves. They got a really good result against Everton over last weekend. They know for a fact that everybody is going to be turning up expecting Liverpool to do them over, but they're going to have a game plan. And I like Chris Wilder. I think he's a really good manager. I don't think that he allows them to feel the kind of like, we're just here to make up the numbers. It doesn't matter what you get in these games. He wants them to go out there and give every single team a problem. And I think that the way that they play will cause us some problems. But like you say, the form we're in at the moment, the level that we're able to play at the moment, we're just dealing with everything that someone throws at it. Even if sometimes it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour to get a grips on it, we've got good enough players to go out there and do that.
Yeah, so the preview show.
That's absolutely brilliant. It's one of our best shows, hosted by Robbo. Every single week doing a brilliant job of looking ahead to the game in question. This time it is Liverpool going to Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. If you want to download that, or in fact listen to any of the Anfield Wrap stuff, or watch any of the Anfield Wrap stuff, that's on the Tour Player app or through the website. But if you download the app, what you can do is you get some 300 free tokens, which can be used to listen to shows that you might not normally listen to for the first time. So you can listen to shows on that, you can watch videos on that. All of that is available through there. So if you download the app, you can use those tokens. You can get all of our post-match stuff, you can get the pre-match stuff. There's the preview there, there'll be an AFQ today. There's Weekenders come out as well. That's already come out as a free show first thing this morning. There's loads and loads of brilliant work on the app. Do check it out, do take the time to do so. I'll be doing a stat show today. Let's let's see how good that is, what with me being half asleep. But James York's already sent some very useful stuff over about Sheffield United, and it's a game that I'm really looking forward to.
What are you expecting? I mean, does Chris Wilder's come out and there's already a note of caution in his comments now. I don't know whether he's trying to sell us a Mickey there or what, but they've had a good start to the season.
I think he's really impressive. I think he's part of. He comes across older, and because of his accent and all that sort of stuff, it makes you think of the managers of the past. But I think he's forward thinking. I think you see the way in which he talks in his press conferences and when he talks to media, is that he's very, very honest. You know, there was the thing he did when someone made a reference to effort, and he was like, well, effort. You don't talk to me about effort. Yeah, effort is should be there all the time. I think they're doing all right, and I think we've seen sides come up in the past where there's a bit of a rush of blood first 10-15 games. They do really, really well. A couple of things happen. One is they can't keep that adrenaline and the pace going. The second thing that happens is that maybe teams get more data and more to look at and work them out a little bit. I think there's a chance that might happen, but I don't think that could be quite as much. You remember there was a Phil Brown season where the first half of the season Hull are absolutely flying. They were
sixth and then they nearly got relegated.
And they end up staying up by a point. I don't think it'll necessarily be like that for Sheffield United. And what I mean is I don't think there'll be quite the same boom, but I don't expect it to be a massive bust either.
The one thing that caught my eye a little bit was normally when you see promoted sides come up, they go 2-0 down to one of the perceived big six, and you think, they go 2-0 down, you think, it's going to be 4-5-0.
Yeah.
They go 2-0 down, and Chelsea come back 2-2.
Yeah.
And it shows the character and the belief. And also, you can't. The more I'd start, Chris Wilder especially, if they'd have gone 4, he probably would have shrugged his shoulders and reacted the same way at 2-2. Yeah. But the fact that they put themselves back in it, whilst also being totally aware of the fact they could fall 3-4, that's got to be respected.
I think it has got to be respected, and I think that they'll be respected by Liverpool going into it tomorrow, no doubt. I think one of the things I always say this about Klopp. One of the things that's forgotten about Klopp, because we talk all the time about his time at Dortmund, is we forget his time at Mainz, where he's been Chris Wilder. And I think it's the most interesting thing. For instance, he goes out of his way, he's not done the press conference yet, but he goes out of his way to pay due respect to these sides because he's literally been in Chris Wilder's position, which I think more and more now modern day coaches haven't. You know, a lot of them have not had to necessarily live that reality, whereas Klopp has, both as player and as manager. So he can anticipate what that dressing room's like, what it's been like in training all week. He knows that reality. And I think that you'll see Liverpool, you know, at times I would possibly argue Liverpool pay these clubs maybe a little bit too much respect, that maybe there's an argument that the attitude should be much more to go there and just swat them away. But we don't do that.
It's like the Man City approach to it.
Yeah, almost like the more of the Man City approach. We don't do that at all. We'll treat them with the utmost respect, and that is long term, I would argue, better. I think it is, you know, in general, I'd like to see, you know, Liverpool be like that and be serious. And I think I'm really looking forward to the game. I think it's a really smart choice from a telly point of view to whack it on at 12:30. I think it'll be a game that's worth watching. You're
not the one having to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, mate.
No, not now. Trust me, not now. I think there's a thing where Wilder will be cautious, but what he'll have 10-minute bursts worked out. 10 minutes of them playing is the way in which they normally play.
If it goes to plan.
If it goes to plan, yeah. I think it'll take a lot for it not to go to plan, as you say. I think it'll be, right, lads, there'll be a lot of this game where we've got to survive and hang on in there, but then we will get the opportunity to assert ourselves, and when we do what we do. The overlapping centre-backs gets a lot of chat, but Ender Stevens has had a really strong start to the season at left wing-back. He looks like a really, really good player. McBurney will be a handful. I think we can talk a lot about, you know, Matip and Van Dijk in the end, the quality of them, but McBurney will be a handful. He was last season. Playing at Swansea for a few games, and if you can do it in the Championship, you can do it when you come up. I think there's a little bit of them where I don't think it'll be a walk in the park for Liverpool, and I'll tell you right now, I'd take any victory by 1 goal, get out, get on with Salzburg.
What are you expecting after midweek? How many changes? I mean, I thought Liverpool were I haven't spoken to you about the game because we've literally just met each other about half an hour ago to do this. I thought they were impressive.
The thing I'd like to see, to be really honest with you, is I'd like to see a pathway for 1 or 2 of those younger players to be on the bench in the next 2 or 3 games. I think it wouldn't just be 1. I think it's easy for me to say it's Jurgen Klopp's job. You know, Jurgen Klopp lives and dies by the results, but I'd love there to be almost a bench of 5 where there's a goalkeeper, there's 5 outfield players he will almost certainly use, and then there's 1 younger player he may use if the circumstances are right. And by the younger player, I'm talking about Brewster, I'm talking about Elliott, I'm talking about Jones, Hoover, who've all acquitted themselves really well, and maybe keeping them around that setup might be great. Now, as I say, that's really easy for me to say. I'm not Jurgen Klopp, and it's not a matter of, well, it does at the minute feel like a matter of life and death. But, you know, I do wonder about whether or not that'd be worth it for him. It will obviously be a complete raft of changes. I'll be amazed if even Milner keeps his place, although I thought he was absolutely brilliant at Milton Keynes, like such a performance. everything that you want from someone who's captaining that team under those circumstances. We've talked in the past how it's hard for the young players when it's a load of changes. Well, James Milner on his own set the example of this is what it is to be a Liverpool player, lads.
Is there a place for Naby Keita? Just think with the hook on 60 was, the most deliberate hook you've ever seen.
I think he's the bench for this one. I think he starts Salzburg, to be honest with you.
Well, I was going to ask you about Salzburg because, we're in this position where we've actually got a bit of a gap, as big a gap as you could possibly get.
Yes,
because with Saturday, Wednesday.
And Saturday half 12, yeah.
Saturday half 12. So, normally you'd expect plenty of rotation, or can you see they'll make a judgment call after the game on Saturday? I
think there'll be a bit of a judgment call after the game on Saturday, but I think I would expect one of Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain to play against Salzburg, and I think it is a bit more likely to be Keita. And then what you might see is, for instance, Henderson might not play the game against Leicester, and then the other one might come in, or Wijnaldum comes back in, or something like that. I expect to see the front three for the next 3 games. I don't think there'll be any messing about there. He'll rest them, I think, using substitutions. That's the way in which they'll get a rest. The one that he might have a little think about, although he might think, I'll just run him, and there's a really specific reason why, is Fabinho. I think there'll be something in the back of his mind worried about the minutes he's put into Fabinho's legs, but I think there's a little situation at the minute where we're really happy about Fabinho's international breaks. He's not getting picked.
Which is weird.
It is weird. I'd be picking him, but I wonder if somewhere in Klopp's mind at the moment is, listen, Henderson plays every international break, he'll get the games for England again. Is there a little thing where he's thinking, well, yeah, Fabinho, he'll have to go away, we can't do anything about that, but he's not actually getting on the pitch there, so I can afford to run him these 3 off the basis that I can expect him to maybe at most, keep training, but get half an hour at most for Brazil.
Is this a situation where phone calls go into the powers that be in Brazil and go, listen, what are your thoughts?
What are your plans?
Yeah,
let me know what your plans are. I think that there's every chance that that's the case. What are your plans? I think
because that could work for both teams. People always think when club managers and international managers speak, it's always a clash. When actually,
there's a chance to perfectly friendly. There's one other thing as well to remember and bear in mind just before we wrap it up, is that the result against Napoli has meant that Salzburg has to be. It basically is a must-win for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And the result against Napoli has done that, but also Salzburg's result as well against Genk has said that Liverpool have got to beat Salzburg. So I expect Liverpool to go in unbelievably strong against Salzburg. The one question is maybe whether or not Keita gets into midfield. Apart from that, I don't think there'll be any changes.
That's pretty much that's us for today. Just one more time about the app. Just feel better than I do.
Download it, Google Play and Apple Store. Get the app downloaded and have a little play around with it. It's great fun. Use the tokens if you don't want to pay up front. If you do fancy coming and subscribing, you know where we are. The more of you, the merrier, and the better the content will be.
There you go. Up the Reds.